information. Thank you so much, Commissioner, for joining us.
Thank you.
And
morning, viewers.
And I'm also very happy to be joined by the State Minister for the Elderly, that is Honorable Mafabi Gidudu Dominic. Honorable, thank you so much for making time
to
come and be with us here on UBC.
Thank you for the welcome.
Well, this morning, like I did say, we are going to be talking about elderly, and especially when it comes to creating awareness in terms of abuse. What do you understand when we talk about giving respect and attention to the elderly people in our community? And in this case, who are the elderly that we are looking at? Please be with us, get onto our social media pages. Let us know, share your thoughts, your 2 cents with us as well. The hashtag is UBCGMU, and for any questions, I do implore you to make use of our WhatsApp platform number 0709 602 592. To start off with you, Commissioner, I think it's very important and necessary for us to understand why we actually commemorate this wonderful day. Maybe you can take us through that.
Thank you. Good morning, Ugandans. We are commemorating the UN World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, majorly due to many factors, but I will mention 3. One of them is that Uganda, for so many years now, has undertaken a human rights perspective to vulnerable groups. And therefore, when it comes to elder abuse, we are looking at a human rights protection and promotion approach. Increasingly, we are seeing our older persons suffering from elder abuse. And therefore, as Uganda, we have joined the global community to commemorate this day, to raise awareness on this day that no one should touch an older person in terms of abusing his or her rights, and every Ugandan of sober mind should stand up to condemn this increasing vice. And we are here to say no to elder abuse. We are saying every Ugandan should wake up and prevent this abuse. Lastly, we are here because we are joining the rest of the world. This is the UN issue, and Uganda being a signatory to the UN protocols, we are in solidarity with the global community to all stand up and say no to elder abuse and tell the public to prevent this, unfortunate scenario.
Okay. Well, Honorable, I do understand that the theme for this year is seniors deserve our respect and attention. What exactly is the relationship between respect and attention and the elderly fraternity?
Well, of course, respect and attention go together. And our own culture, in every district and everywhere, has a special recognition and respect for our older persons. However, when you look at modernity, and also you look at the elders, as they become old, they become less visible, and they participate less in the official activities of the country. They retire, they grow weaker, and so on. And that's why the United Nations had to come up with this Elder Abuse Day to emphasize and to remind people that it is important to look at these people in a special way. They have served us under various capacities, and they deserve continuous recognition. And as they become more visible, as far as day-to-day life is concerned, the government takes over to represent them and to let everybody know that they are existing. For us as leaders, for instance, under Gender, Labor and Social Development, and also the Department of Older Persons, the NRM government, to emphasize the priority it gives to us, it created a separate department to cater for this category of people as an affirmative action. And also the government has gone out even to ensure that financially these people are assisted, because as you realize, people who are abused, most are those who are less financially capable. So in our own way, for us, as the people who are involved in the day-to-day activities of the older persons, we drum awareness. We also drum the importance of these older persons and remind everybody of the contributions they have made in the development of this country. Some of them, if you look, lived during the colonial times, but most of them have phased out. They even sang God Save the Queen. They saw various changes coming and so on. But now things have changed. The political themes are different. How do we react to this? Yeah. Of course, that's why we also have intergenerational solidarity. Here I am, an old man. On my right is a young lady. On my left is a young man. We think if we are together, we may not be strange to each other, and we pass this throughout the country. And today we are grateful to the studio to give us this opportunity, at least to address our people, and especially the elderly. And we hope that this will also be brought in the papers and in the radios. As you realize, not so many of them have TVs, but with modernity, the numbers are increasing. So we feel we have to continue drumming this. And as you realize, to us, this is very important. Yes. And we look forward to such future opportunities, not only on such a day, but on any other days, if the studio gives us an opportunity.
Okay. Now, Prosper, we've already identified that abuse against the elderly is already an issue here, but I think it's also very important to understand what are the causes, and again, if you can, take us through why it is actually on an increase. In 2023, the numbers are really going high, very, very appalling. What could be causing this?
Thank you so much. Maybe before I go there, I wanted to do a kind of rejoinder to what the Honorable Minister has just stated regarding the attention. The theme is also calling upon many sectors in this country in terms of raising their appetite for attention to older persons. We are saying the banks, when people are queuing and lining up to the counters to get money, can you create space for an older person? Can you create a special queue where older persons who are weak can avoid the scramble? The shopping malls, the supermarkets, can we, as we usher different persons to the tellers, can we say, oh, there is this queue which is gazetted for the older persons? Our Kira Motors, which is working on buses in Jinja, can you say, oh, as we design, are we taking care of an older persons in terms of the transport needs of older persons who may not be jumping here and there to enter the bus? The Uganda Insurance Authority, we have had scenarios where when you are asking for insurance, these insurance practitioners will ask you, oh, wait a minute, are you also trying to insure your parents? It's like a burden. It's an ageism issue, and we are calling upon such practitioners to say no. An older person deserves better. An older person doesn't deserve such discrimination. We are calling upon National Drug Authority, we are calling upon the different stakeholders in the delivery of medicines and drugs, that when we are distributing these drugs, are we looking at drugs that touch an older person? We are talking about pressure, we are talking about diabetes, we are talking about cancer. One older person recently made a small comment about donors. He said, most of these donors are giving us condoms, and we find trucks and trucks moving up country distributing condoms instead of distributing supplies for diabetes, supplies for pressure and cancer. We have had a lot of money put in HIV programming, but I can tell you, if you ask in this country whether there is a HIV prevention strategy targeting older persons, you get surprised. And that's the attention we are talking about, that older persons deserve better in terms of inclusion in programming, in terms of service delivery. We are being left behind, and we are saying no.
So you're looking for a 360 inclusion? 360
inclusion, perfect.
Okay.
I think you should be recruited as an advocate today. Now, going back to the abuse and why it's in the increase, quickly, the Honorable Minister has talked about intergenerational dividend. Dividend where the three of us here, the old and young, can sit together and work. But there is a challenge of what we are calling intergenerational discordancy. International discordancy associated with ageism. Ageism, the young are saying, my father, my grandmother, my grandfather, they are mean. My grandfather, my grandmother is also saying, you are extravagant.
Yes.
So there is that intergenerational discordancy that is causing problems, whereby the older person is suspicious of the young one, and the young one is suspicious of the older one.
Yes.
And therefore, we are not really finding a corner where all of us can meet and develop. So that's one of the challenges. And this challenge is exacerbated by the modernization trend. The Honorable Minister talked about it. So we are reading a lot on social media, we are in town, our values, our cultural norms are slowly getting eroded. We used to kneel down to greet elders. We used to every morning go and in a very, very, very respectful way greet our grannies, our grandparents. But of late, due to modernization, there are issues. Another issue that's coming up, I may call it, I don't want to blame the young generation, but I want to call it failing to cope with the modernity. So as these issues come, we are failing to get shock absorbers as young people on how best to pick the strength and use it to work with our parents and our grandparents. Some people have talked about the white-collar job syndrome. White-collar job syndrome is where all of us, the young generation, think we can't go to the garden, we can't be productive, we can't succeed in a rural setting.
Yes.
We must be in offices for us to survive. And therefore, we are struggling with our parents' sale land. Most of the violence against our older persons relate to sale of land, because we want our parents to lose assets. There is a house somewhere, a young man or a young woman leaves university and is telling the parent, we must sell because I must get some saloon, I must get a boda, I want to start a business. And the older man is saying, wait a minute, I worked for these things and I just don't want to see them just rush. Just come, use the land and be productive and successful. And the young man is saying, no, I can't, over my dead body. I must sell part of it, you must give me my share. And that's where we are seeing a lot of this friction, a lot of conflict, and we are here to say no. And why it is increasing, as I said, is really failure to cope with the modernization, failure to appreciate that white-collar jobs can't be for everyone, but some of us can get some niche up there in the upcountry. Our soils are very fertile. We can try to do some digging, some income-generating activities, and we succeed. And we have seen many young people, young girls succeeding. And to all of us, the youth who are listening, we can work with our grandparents, our parents, diplomatically, with respect, and we still succeed without friction.
Prosper, if I may cut you short, I have recently had very many comments coming in from, again, the community, the elderly community. Young people recently are so entitled. Do you believe that this is a very huge contributing factor, again, to the violence we are seeing against the elderly in our society right now?
Exactly, exactly. That feeling of entitlement is real. It's real, and unless we really, that mindset, we try to sit them down, unless we have studios like this where we can have these young people here and really unpack why they should minimize that entitlement, then we are doomed. Actually, for your information, this Thursday, we are going to have a dialogue, an intergenerational dividend dialogue, where the youth and older persons are sitting on a panel to discuss why that issue of entitlement is causing more trouble than solutions to this country.
Okay. Yeah. And much later on, I'll be bouncing back to you to understand if there can be a middle ground to make sure that we cover this very huge issue between the youth and the elderly. Well, we are talking about World Elderly Abuse Awareness Day, which will be happening on the 15th of June. But in the meantime, we need to understand what it is all about. How best can we protect the elderly? How best can we show them our respect as the rest of the society? And how best can we give them attention from the sectoral point of view? And we are looking at ensuring that we see them, we acknowledge them from all corners and at all levels, whether at our local level, whether at sectoral level, whether it comes at ministerial level. We want to recognize all these people, and I am very lucky to be joined by two great men who are taking me through it. Now, Honorable, we have talked about the causes and why it's actually on an increase, very sadly, but also very importantly for us to note and understand. But we would also love so very much to know, exactly coming in from the side of government, what are they doing to actually address abuse against older persons? These are important people. We cannot just downplay their role. But what is government doing?
Well, actually, the government is conscious. It has taken affirmative action and is bringing it within its policies. As you realize, as I said, as you age, you get out of public. But through the affirmative action, they have managed, first of all, to involve the older persons who are 60 and above in the legislative capacities. For instance, they began at LC 1, LC 2, LC 3, up to LC 5. They got involved, they became councillors, and so on. And then later on, they went as far as government, at parliament. We actually have 5 members of parliament. One is a lady representing women national. Then each region has 1 person. And these people represent the older persons. That is their role. Of course, as you realize, once the government takes that trend, it means a lot. Like in the parish development model, they gave the older persons a 10%. Now, this 10% of 5 trillion shillings is 500 billion shillings in 5 years, 100 billion per year, and 10 million per parish. That shows inclusion, and it creates visibility of older persons. You see, once you are invisible, people tend to forget you.
Yes.
But when you appear in all sorts of places...
Out of sight, out of mind.
Correct. And also, we are encouraging our leaders at various levels to find a corner for the older persons and to send invitations to these people so that they participate. And as government is doing this, we also want institutions like banks, institutions like insurances, like Prosper talked. For instance, if I have my securities, why shouldn't I be given a loan? And after all, the loan has been evaluated. I have all the requirements. The only thing is that I'm an old person. That shouldn't be a reason for discrimination.
Yes.
Also, if you look at insurance, If I can afford the whatever money I have to pay for the insurance, why should I be excluded? And so on. And some of these holders have their savings. They also have got involved, they have pension and so on. Suddenly you say no, because you are an old person, as much as you have money, you are not eligible. So these are the kind of discriminations that we really want to make sure they are no longer with us. And then, of course, to go back a bit, when you look at a thing like respect and attention, this is something you can't buy. It is something that has to be within you. I recognize it with my colleagues in Parliament. Normally, if there is a chew, they just give me priority. Yes. It is within them. And I feel happy. They have not given me money or anything of the sort, but that recognition.
Yes.
And then attention. Like now, you are giving us attention. You are saying, you know, today I must dress well. I'm meeting old people. I must address them. That means a lot. Even the crew here. So it's not big things. It's the day-to-day small things put together, make a bundle. Even here, Prosper, he has given the whole of yesterday evening to prepare himself for today. And his presentations have been good. So the old people will be happy, and he becomes a friend. And once we have many of you that way, we feel at home. So that's why this day means a lot to us, and we have invited. We have sampled throughout the country. They are coming here. We are going to meet them. They will have a say and so on. And then, of course, this week is packed. We are also having the annual general meeting for the older persons, where we are going to meet all the chairmen from each district to come together. We shall even look at this and say, oh, this Elder Abuse Day, are we improving? Are we doing what? And so on. So I think, so far we think we are moving. And as you realize, when you start something, you don't see miracles. For us, whatever is prevailing, we appreciate. And we think when you people reach my age, things will be much better.
That's the prayer.
Thank you. Yeah.
As we're coming close to the end of this, Prosper, again, circling back to the intergenerational dividend you're talking about, is there a possibility to have a middle ground where the youth can actually meet the elderly, or maybe the other way around? I don't know, whichever is more appropriate at this point. But is there a possibility of us creating that safe space and safe environment, that middle ground that is really necessary, considering all the changes that are happening?
Yes. Thank you. Let me also first clarify that the UN World Elder Abuse Awareness Day happens every 15th of June. In our case, we are going to commemorate it on 16th. 15th being a budget day. We decided that strategically it would make a lot of sense if we don't really congest it with the budget day, so it will be on 16th, which is this Friday, and the session will be at Imperial Royal Hotel here in Kampala. The meeting space, the safe space between the intergenerational safe space between the young one and an older person, yes. You realize that when we did quick assessments in northern Uganda, in some other areas where we see, not only in northern Uganda, across the country, where we see pockets of abuse against older persons, it's not that all the 5 or 3 or 4 children are actually abusing their parent. No. It's exceptional cases of 1 or 2 drunkard who has stayed at home, is abusing drugs, is abusing alcohol, and he gets off completely, and we end up going into such a friction. When we interview our older persons, they still look at themselves as parents, and they can't believe that any child can pick a stick, can have that stamina of slapping a parent. And that's the message we are sending to everyone. They can't believe it. So because they can't believe it, even when you exchange, even when some parents may make a slight mistake, they still think they deserve better. They deserve attention, they deserve respect. So the children outside there, the exceptional cases, I want to thank the young generation, the youth, the young people. There are many in millions who are supporting their parents, who are supporting their grandparents. I know many people who send money. Actually, UBC staff, can you reflect on someone who is in your village? It may not be your parent. Just someone who is old, who is lacking energy to work and may need a 20,000 or 10,000. Just think of a contact of a trading center in your village. Send this 10,000. It will put a very smiling face on this older person. And the 10,000 is so much to this older person. So the meeting point is there, yes. We don't have consistent abuse of an older person by a son or daughter. Our research shows that these are special cases. But when special cases become many, they are no longer special. So, and when they are all over the country. But what we see, it's not within the same household. So we have a lot of mediations happening. We have talked to Ministry of Justice to ensure that the justice centers in the regions who offer legal aid, they really come in. We have sensitized the local council leaders to ensure that we have mediations with these young persons. Of course, we haven't gone to police and the like. Those are the enforcement agencies who are supposed to really put to order these young ones who are abusing drugs or substances. So we don't necessarily see a mass abuse of older persons, but we see exceptional cases, and we are calling upon the young ones, the good ones who are supporting their parents, to meet these exceptional cases who are victims or survivors of drug abuse, who are survivors of alcohol abuse, to make them understand the importance of respecting their parents, to understand the blessings that come from respecting your parents, especially that. To me, that's a meeting point. When the millions who are doing well sit down with the few who are abusing their parents to explain the blessings that come with caring for your parents, we shall all be there.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, Honorable, could we get your parting shots on this?
Well, of course, first of all, we are very appreciative for this opportunity. But at the same time, we want to emphasize the government is affirmative action, especially the parish development model, is to put the money in the pockets of the older persons. And normally people who are self-sustaining are not much abused because people realize that they have their own self-created autonomy. And that one, we are really going out to make sure that that opportunity is used by our older persons. And at the same time, we are grateful to government as a whole that they are thinking of the older persons in an affirmative way. And as Prosper elaborated, you can see that it's not the norm, it's the exceptional. But we think with more time, with the government involvement, pushing in positive policies and regulations, and also having watchdogs seeing whatever is happening, we are going to have a very good intergenerational solidarity. It's something good, something we desire, so we have to work for it. And since we are involved, both young and old, and since you, the young, whether you like it or not, if you look after yourself well, you will grow old, so you are preparing for yourselves. And I use this opportunity to thank Prosper, to thank you, for us to let Ugandans know that yes, there are people who are focusing on this, and it's bound to be taken seriously at all levels. Thank you again.
Well, thank you so much, Honorable, for stopping by. Honorable Mafabi Gidudu Dominique, the Minister of State for the Elderly and Prosper Mahumuza, Commissioner Elderly Disability. Thank you so much for giving us the information. Please send that mobile money to the grannies. Do not hesitate, 10,000, 20,000, whichever, it would actually come in handy. Well, like they did clarify, the commemoration will be happening on the 16th, you said? Yes. In as much as we celebrate it annually, 15th, but this time round it will be the 16th here in the country. So please make sure that, is there a way we can be part of it? Will it be streaming? Especially for the dialogue, but well, we need to understand. Yes,
the arrangements are underway
They're
to make
underway.
sure that
Okay.
this is week. And maybe I really want to thank in a special UBC. UBC has been there for the older persons. We don't want to take it for granted. And I wish all other media houses look at the role model in the name of UBC.
We are very happy to be playing that role. It's the least we can actually do, but if there is any other, definitely we would always be happy to partake in it. Well, we'll leave this discussion here, but we have sports updates coming in with Ruben Mpima Chivirango right after this. And Good Morning Uganda Extra is queued up right after that. Allow me to wish you a wonderful Tuesday and a very productive day ahead. My name is Philomena Masco. Good morning, Uganda.
This isn't just a girl. She is the future. This is a teacher, a doctor, a community leader.